So welcome to this new video, and this time I will review the Colorize modifier. So to create it, right click, Colorize here. And basically what that does, this modifier, is just replacing the color of your image or composition by another set of color, which in this case is by black to gray to white. And so let's review these parameters. So the first one is intensity. So obviously it's the intensity of my effect. Then a selector type, which is or channel or key. I almost never use key selector type, so let's keep that on channel. And then the luminance. Right now I'm applying my set of color using the luminance of my image, so the darker versus the brighter part of the image. And I can change using the red spectrum or green or blue spectrum or the alpha, but in this case I have none. So let's leave that in luminance, and now we have a selector, a curve functions, and this will help me to dispatch the color gradients that I have here on my image, on my luminance, the luminance space, I don't know how to say that, of my image. So to explain it more quickly, I will change the color. It will be a little bit awful, but it's for the purpose of clarity. So now I have my image that's going like, okay, from red on the darker color, on the darker place, to green to blue. Let's put that in a green blue. And so now what this curve here represents, it's basically the y-axis, the vertical axis, is how I will scatter my color, and it will mean in this situation that red will be in the bottom, then green around here, and then blue on the top part of my curve. And then the horizontal part is that here is the darkest color of my image, and here the brightest color. So I can change this function using these few parameters, the color level function here, that will allow me to change how I will colorize my image. For instance, as I've said, right now, red is here, and then we are translating from red to green to blue, and here it's my darkest color, so it's red only on this place, and when my image get brighter in the middle tones, I will go to green, and then on the high tones I will go to blue. So if I change my input black, you will see what's happening here. Right now, from the shadows to the middle tones, to the mid-tones, I'm full red. So that's why I have a huge red color here. And to see that more effectively, I will change the color function. So I can use a parametric function, so linear rep or a sinus, and a sinus can be useful because if I change the offset of my sinus, I can do this kind of effect, which is kind of ugly right now, but using a good set of colors and some blending modes can be nice. But let's change that to color level, and let's put that into custom. So now I can draw my function, and let's say that I want that in the shadows I want only red, in the middle tone I want only blue, and now in the high tones only red again. And so here you have what I was saying before. In the high tones, here in the sky, and in the shadows, here in the more darkest part of the image, I have full red, the bottom of my function, and in the mid tones I have a beautiful blue. So I can smooth a little bit that function, and then you can see you can see the green appear, because the green, as you remember, is in the middle here of this function. So let's put that back into color level for now, and put that tritone to its default value. So right click, default value, and so let's go to black, gray, and white. So we will change now this tritone type, because I can change it, so I will do it, into bitone, quadritone, keyframe. So the more versatile is the keyframe, but I will use a bitone for now. So now I'm going from black to white. And now, as you see, I can change the midpoints, which mean I can change the midpoint of my gradients. So you see how it's changing. So if I'm putting that again from red to green, so now what is happening is, if you see how my curve is doing here, now in my curve here, in my gradient I mean, in my gradient I have a huge part of red and a small part of green, and my green will be only on the high tones, and the red will have kind of a gradient going towards the green, but more soft, and so the green will be applied even in the mid-tones and a part of the high tones. So let's put that back in black and white and show the last function of the Colorize modifier. Put the midpoint to 50, and this will be into the advanced parameter, and inside this gradient I can use a quantized, and the quantized, as you see, it's allowed to change the gradient from a gradient to two distinctive colors, and I can change the steps like that, change a little bit the smooth. Let's change the smooth, you see what's happening, or the deteriorise like that. So this can create some nice effect too. So that's all for the Colorize modifier. Now I will just show some applications for this modifier. So last time I already did a small review of the blur modifier, so I will not going in details here, but let's use Gaussian blur, and let's use a checkerboard to be more clear. So now I have my checkerboard with my Gaussian blur. Let's separate my Gaussian blur into two directional blur so that I can change the shape of with my wheel like that, and leave that blur in perfect quality downsampling. And now, why did I do that? It's just to have this gradient here that I will use in my Colorize modifier. So let's use a Colorize. You see I've changed nothing, but already I see some strange stuff happening here. It's because right now I'm in linear gamma type value. If I change that from linear to sRGB and apply the Colorize, then you see no differences. So from time to time, if you have some strange things happening that you are not comfortable with, change the gamma value or check with that if you have some issue with the color modifier. And so let's go back into the advanced mode and quantize this. Let's put a little bit of smooth, add some step, and put that back into bitone. And quantize again, and change steps, and change the midpoints. And what you can do with that is some already cool kind of motion design stuff, as you may see. So let's change the size of the blur, and let's change some parameter in my directional blur. And what I can do using this Colorize modifier, it's also do some pretty nice motion design stuff. For instance, as you recall, I use to dispatch this color. Let's change it a little bit so it's being more clear. It's not very beautiful. Okay. And change the color level here from color level to parametric, and put that into a sinus, and change the sinus offset. And here you see already things happening. Let's create a linear loop over this stuff, and then you have already a nice thing to play with. Alright, I hope this small tutorial has been of some use for you, and well, see you next time.